checklist.
Oh,
Yeah, that's, wow, that is not great timing.
they let everybody,
Oh, good. And I know Sydney said she wasn't going to go to that, so she could fly home.
not from last night.
Oh, good. Okay,
Yeah,
good. Thanks. Hey guys, for those of you online, just to let you know, we're going to start here in about 2 minutes. And what we're doing today is a little more of like the advanced DocuSign. So I'm going to show you, and opportunities. I'm going to show you today my favorite feature of Command that not many agents use, and that's creating opportunity checklists. So actually you can put in custom checklists of everything, let's say you do when you go under contract, and it can automatically notify your clients when you do those items. All right, so if you would like a cup of coffee or anything, I'm just going to give everyone in person 1 more minute to get in, and then we'll get started here. All right. Thanks for your patience, guys. We're going to go ahead and get started here. You guys are going to really like these features. I'm excited to show you. So where we're going to go first is agent.kw.com and log in. Okay, so what I'm going to focus on in today's class is the checklist and opportunities, which again works closely with DocuSign. But this feature will allow you to notify your clients automatically whenever you complete certain tasks, which I love. And of course, it helps with your organization as well. Okay, so once you log into Command, the opportunities section, right, is the handshake icon on the left-hand side of Command. So opportunities, that handshake icon, right? And that'll show you your pipelines for listings, buyers, and leases here. Okay, so just to kind of give you an overview of what you're looking at here, right? Most systems will help you under contract to closed, right? But this system goes a step above and beyond, and it'll help you manage your transactions from all the way from cultivate, which is growing the relationship, setting the appointment, active, under contract, and our favorite close. Why this is so helpful. So what I'm going to show you is how to set up checklists so you know what action items you need to be doing every time you meet a new lead and you need to cultivate the appointment. How do I get them from the cultivate phase to the appointment phase? Okay. And especially if you've talked to, let's say, 6 different people in a week, right? And they tell you, okay, I'm not looking to buy right now, but maybe in 6 months, right? It gets hard to remember what you've done for each transaction in order to most efficiently move them down your pipeline, okay? So the key thing that you guys need to know, the difference between the contact section and opportunities, okay? So contacts tab in command, that is all of your contacts. In theory, the contacts section would be every person that you know in your phone, right? So you can automate your systems. Even if you don't want to reach out to them, it can let you know, okay, who should I be calling this quarter? Right? So that's the benefit of having all of your contacts in the contacts section, set up internal systems. Whereas opportunities here, you would create a new opportunity each time that you have a meaningful conversation with someone about real estate. Okay, so again, contacts has all of your contacts. Every person you know, in theory, should be in your contacts tab. Whereas the opportunities tab, that's only individuals that you have a meaningful conversation about real estate with. Okay, so to walk you through that and to show you those checklists that are honestly life-changing or business-changing for your organization, effectiveness, and making it a smooth transaction for your clients. Okay, so if you have an opportunity, great, you can go to it. I'm just going to create an opportunity real quick. So I have one to practice on. You guys are probably used to what this looks like now, but again, I clicked on Create Opportunity on the top right. And guys, on Zoom, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to speak out, or if I lose you in this, right, this is for you. So please don't hesitate to let me know if I lose you. From the Opportunities tab, I'm going to click Create Opportunity to create a test one, if you would like to as well. There's just 3 fields that we have to fill out here. So the 3 fields that you have to fill out would be the opportunity type, so that whether it's going on your listing or your buyer pipeline. So I'll show you listing for now, but listing and buyer would be similar concept here. The checklists do have to be set up separately. I'll show you all of that. But the opportunity type, okay, that's step 1. Client would be the second thing you need to put in. So whether you're going to go ahead and put in, let's say, yourself as the client, so you can see what it looks like when you get client notifications, I might recommend putting in yourself if you're in your database. Okay, if there's a spouse on the transaction or a co-seller, of course, you can put them there. And the third and final field is just that commission rate on the bottom right. Okay, and that's just talking about your side of the transaction. So I would put in 3%. You can always change that if they haggle you down. All right, but again, the 3 fields we have to fill out when creating an opportunity is or one rather, opportunity type, whether that's a listing or a buyer. 2, your client. And 3, the commission rate. Okay. You'll see, just to note, because we didn't go over this in the DocuSign class, the opportunity phase down here and stage, okay? So first of all, the opportunity phase, what that is, right, that's the same thing as on your pipeline. So let's say you don't add an opportunity for them until after you already have an appointment or after you're already active. Of course, the concept is that you're adding them right when you have a meaningful conversation about real estate. So they would be in the cultivate phase, the first one here. But again, you could change that to appointment or active if you want them to automatically be in that appointment phase. And I'll show you more if that's, probably hurting your head at this point. I'll dive deeper into what these 2 mean. And you can click Create. Okay, so some things we didn't go over in the DocuSign class on Tuesday. That's what I'm going to focus on today. First of all, what I'm looking at here, right, is the back end, the details section of my opportunity. So all of this information would autofill into DocuSign into all forms that I create. Now, before we create the checklist that I keep going on about, my favorite feature, right, I do want to point out also this marketing tab. And this marketing tab is only here for listings. So if you selected a buyer opportunity, totally fine. But from my memory, the marketing tab is still only in the listing. Now, why this is so cool, okay? So depending on where your transaction is on the pipeline, right? Remember I showed you there's a cultivate phase, appointment, I think under contract and closed. I'm missing one there, right? Those phases on the pipeline, depending on where your opportunity is, it's going to show you different marketing pieces here based on what stage your opportunity is in or your transaction is in. Right? So this, since we're in the first phase here, this is going to show me marketing pieces that will help me cultivate the relationship, right? Once I pull them down the pipeline, and I'll show you guys this, how the marketing changes, it'll suggest different marketing pieces based on that specific stage, okay? So pretty cool feature. That's a newer feature, maybe within the last year or so. I do like that. Okay, but let's dive in now to these checklists. All right, so the checklist, to do that, I'm going to show you what the checklists look like first. So if you'd like to look at your entire pipeline and not just the back end of this one opportunity or transaction, right? You can click on the sales pipeline, this blue link on the top left. See where it says sales pipeline listing cultivate, right? It's telling you what phase it's in. I can click on that to see my entire pipeline. And to set up the checklist or understand the checklist, that would be helpful. Oh, took me back to the home page, which is fine. Okay, in that case, I can go ahead and click on the first phase of the transaction, so that cultivate. Let's go ahead and click on the cute little plant icon to get into your pipeline. Okay. All right, so what we're looking at here is your pipeline of any opportunities that you've created, right, are on the cultivate phase. So we're working on growing the relationship. So the question becomes, okay, what action items do I need to do to move this opportunity or this transaction from a cultivate phase to setting an appointment, right? What are those items that you typically do? So for example, you'll see right here, this little checklist item, and yours probably says 0 out of 0. If you haven't set this up, no worries, I'm going to show you how. But you'll see that it probably says 0 out of 0. And if I click on that, okay, mine says 0 out of 5 because I do have some checklist items. It's going to show me, okay, what are those action items that I need to do? Now, these do need to be manually added in from what I have seen. So you do have to add them. So that's why yours probably says 0 out of 0. And I will show you how to add them in, okay, in bulk, so that anytime you start a new listing transaction or anytime you start a new buyer transaction, you always have that checklist set up, okay? So right now, I'm just going to show you what it does real quick. So I'm going to X out of this on the top right, because I do need to show you one more thing that it's going to do, and then I'll show you how to set it up, okay? So client updates. See where it says client updates on all of these? They default to off, meaning if you check off something on that checklist, well, that's just for your organization. However, you'll see I have one opportunity, and I'll show you the how in a minute, that says the client updates are on, meaning when I select certain checklist items that I want my client to receive notifications of, it will automatically send them a checklist of all the items you've completed in the last 24 hours, as long as your client updates are on, okay? So that's what it does. Very cool. It sends them an email, like a checklist email if you've ever worked with a mortgage provider that does something similar. It's a very cool feature. There's two reasons I love it. A, it keeps them in the loop on what's going on every step of the transaction without you having to manually email them every time. But also, two, it shows them how much you're doing for them. I find that the general public has no idea how much realtors do. This lets them know what you're doing every step of the transaction, especially with this weird NAR settlement time, right? It's really showing that, yeah, you do deserve that 3%, okay? So now let's talk about the how. Let's go ahead and set up these checklists. And I do have templates, okay? So you'll see on the very top right here. And if you're not looking at what I'm looking at, I'm just going to tell you how to get here real quick. So if you're not looking at what I'm looking at, click on the handshake icon on the left-hand side of command, and then simply click on the first phase of the transaction, so that cultivate phase, to open up your pipeline. Okay, so now you should be where I am. And you can click on stages and checklists on the top right to set this up in bulk for every new transaction. So again, that was stages and checklists on the very top right. And what you'll see here is each stage of the transaction. Now, by default, yours probably only says something like watch, nurture. I forget exactly what yours says by default, right? But that didn't make a lot of sense to me, or I wanted to add more of a time frame to help it make a little more sense. Now, this pipeline is totally up to you, totally customizable to your business. So with that being said, let's say you want to change it, the first one from watch or whatever it says by default, to adding this 6 to 12 months. What I'm going to do is click the pencil icon to the far right of that item. And I can simply add in that 6 to 12 months. Okay. So that helps me gauge where on the pipeline I should put them, right? If I had a meaningful conversation with them about real estate, but they say, okay, I'm not looking to buy or sell in this case for a year out, right? That would be a good place to put them. If they indicate, okay, maybe 3 to 6 months from now is when I'm looking to buy or sell, that's when you could put them in that second stage, okay? So my recommendation is, again, click the pencil icon on the far right and add in each one of these in parentheses. Again, totally up to you, but I would click the pencil icon for the next one, label 2, and update that to 3 to 6 months. And again, you guys are online. Let me know if I lose you ever. Happy to catch you up. I'm also happy to do this with you one-on-one in person. So we're clicking the pencil icon to the far right of each of the phase names and adding in that time frame. And this is where the excitement really begins. If you're anything like me, I love checklists, and it really can help you keep track of your transactions that are all in different stages, right? So that's where this checklist comes in. Again, yours probably says 0 out of 0 if you've never used this. But if I click on that, it's going to open up the checklist. Again, I added these in here, and I'm going to give you a template if you would like to copy and paste. And again, I always use this one in class, so that's why I have so many. All right, but what you would do, first I'm going to tell you what is going on here, what you're looking at, right? What you could do is click Add Task, and you can go ahead and add the task. Let's say, okay, you just met, you had a meaningful conversation about real estate. Okay, have I gotten their phone number? Have I gotten their email address? Have I set them up in the MLS on a property search, right? What are those things that you do when you meet someone who's interested in buying or selling to then move them to an appointment? Do you send them your listing presentation, right? Do you drop off resources at their house? I want you to try to mentally brainstorm, what do you do when you are trying to bring them from just a conversation about real estate to an actual appointment, okay? And again, I'll give you a template. It's on an Excel spreadsheet. But for now, the how, let's say, I want it to say get phone number. Now, the important switch is that one under it. See where it says include in client update, right? Not all tasks do we want them to be notified of, especially kind of in this stage when we're trying to grow the relationship. Not a lot of times we would want them to get emailed that we got their phone number, right? So we'll leave that off in this case, but right when we go, let's say in the active phase and are putting things like putting the sign in the lawn, right? Putting it in the MLS, getting the photos back, right? Those are things that maybe you would want them to be notified of, and that's when we would turn it on. Let me know if you have questions, but we're going to leave it off for this one. You can update if you want this to be like it's going to be a call task or a text task, meaning it's going to tell you to text them or call them. You can put in a description, hyperlink, if there's a certain script you want to hyperlink or a certain website you utilize, you can do that here. And you can click create. So really the main things we need to do when we're creating a task is putting in the task name and deciding if this should be included as a client update. Like, do we want our client to be notified when we complete that task? And you'll see the client update option on the right-hand side here a bunch as well, okay? So when you have your checklist in here, by default, it's not going to send your clients anything, okay? So don't worry about that. By default, it's turned off in multiple ways, so I'll show you. But in general, if it's an item that you want them to be notified about, you would check the client update checkbox, okay? Again, that client update really starts to pertain more, once you get the transaction active or under contract. That's really when we want to start notifying our clients, but that's the how right here, okay? So now let me give you a template. If you would like it, I have an Excel spreadsheet of checklists for each and every stage in here that another agent shared with me. So I'm going to pull up a new tab. If you would like to do that the same, do it as well. I have this on the KWB resources site. So I have this template. If you would like to go to kwbresources.com, I'm going to show you how you can just copy and paste from the Excel spreadsheet that I have these to-do lists, right? What should you be doing when you cultivate the relationship or trying to bring them to appointment, okay? So I have an Excel spreadsheet of recommendations at least. So kwbresources.com. Let's hover over tech resources. And the third option down is the live tech training. That's just where we have all the notes for today's class or the Tuesday and Thursday classes. So again, KWB resources, hover over tech resources, and then click on live tech training from that dropdown. Okay, and it's not alphabetized. I'm sorry, I'm working on that though to make your life easier. But if you scroll down, you'll start to see all of our notes. This one specifically is called transaction management. So it'll be the hyperlink under this pinkish bar. You can scroll on down to the transaction management. Let me know if you have any trouble finding it. I can drop it in the chat. Okay. Now I will drop this checklist in the chat. So if you're having any trouble finding it, the checklist is on the very bottom here. Okay. And this is videos, just so you know, the rest of this is short videos on everything I'm showing you. So like if you forget what I'm saying later, activate client update emails, right? That's kind of what we're talking about. So you can always come back to this. So if you could, let's click on the very bottom that's highlighted here where it says checklist template. Let's go ahead and open that in a new tab. I'm going to just throw this in the chat. You should be able to edit it from there or access it from there. 1 second. Where'd it go? Here we go. Oh, good question, Megan. Megan, I would have to look into that deeper if that's the marketing features only for the personal individual agent. I can check on that in just a second because I have a team account. That's interesting. It doesn't show up on the team account. And Megan just checking to make sure it's a listing transaction and not a buyer transaction. But I can look into that deeper for you. Great question. I'll come back to that. So again, in the chat, you can click on that link and it'll show you this checklist. Okay. So this is what another agent shared with me. So of course, edit it to your liking, right? To your business. However, what I'm looking at here, right? Okay, is phase 1, that cultivate, right? We're growing the relationship. Okay. You'll see these 3 stages, which I already mentioned, right? How we talked about watching the lead 6 to 12 months, 3 to 6 months, or a hot lead looking now, right? So these are the checklists that you could copy and paste in, let's say, for watching the lead for the 6 to 12 months out. So to show you the how, okay, I would click on the item. Oh, and by the way, I am in the buyer one by default. So if you did a seller one like I am working on, there's two tabs on the very bottom of this Excel spreadsheet. So you can select the seller option, and we can copy and paste this item into the checklist. And just a heads up, if you want us to do this for you, we can do it for you for $50, where we just add both the buyer and the seller checklist automatically into your opportunities, so you don't have to go through and do this. But it's not too painful, because once you do it one time, it's done. But I will put my email in the chat, so if you want us to just do it for you, we absolutely can. So again, what I'm doing is I'm right-clicking on the option or the item and clicking copy, Control-C, Command-C. So I'm copying the item. Now I'm going to go back to command. So that should be with the KW logo, right? And I'm working on the watch lead, right? The 6 to 12 months checklist. So I can click on add task. And I can paste this in. Okay. So I want to get the phone number of the lead. Beenverified.com might be a great place to check to get that phone number. Again, that's really the main thing you need to do. Put in the task. We don't want them to be notified of this one, so we'll just click create. Okay. So now we want to do that for each item. So I want to switch tabs back and forth between the Excel spreadsheet and the opportunities. Okay. So now I'm going to go back to the Excel spreadsheet. Next one, copy. Go back to command. Add task to add this new task in. I click add task to paste it in and click create on the bottom. I'm going to give you a couple minutes here to do the rest of that. I'll keep doing it on my screen, so if you want to look at mine. But if you have questions on what I'm doing, please let me know. Okay, if you go through and set this up, I'm going to shut the door, hang on. So if you go through and set this up, while I realize this is tedious, copying and pasting from an Excel spreadsheet in, once you do it one time, you're good. Now, Megan, I do want to point out, if you are on a team, the checklist is different on the team pipeline versus the personal pipeline. So if you are in a team and you're trying to set this up for your team, you would do this on your team pipeline. Let me know if you have questions on that. Interesting. And I will check on the marketing tab as well. All right, so I'm going to do that a couple more times. I'm going to give you some time to do it as well. All I'm doing is I'm going back and forth from the tab with the Excel spreadsheet to the opportunities in command. I'm just going to copy everything from this list one by one into the checklist. Clicking add task on the bottom and paste that in. And click create. So I'll do the same thing again, going back to the Excel spreadsheet, right-clicking on the item to copy it on the Excel spreadsheet, going back to the KW tab, right, the opportunities tab, adding the task to paste it in. Okay. And again, I'll put my email in the chat just in case you want us to do this for you. We can do both sides of the transaction for $50 or $25 each. So just let us know. And also, of course, you can come in and meet with us and we'll show you again how to do this for free, just so you know. Okay. Just gonna give you a couple more minutes here so you can go ahead and finish this checklist, and then I'll show you in theory what your next steps would be. Okay. So once you get done adding in that checklist, and feel free to keep working on it if you're still on that section, what the next step would be is we click save. Okay, and you might see your checklist. It shouldn't have 24 items like mine. I always do this in class on this one, so that's why I have so many. But right now, your checklist should say something like 0 out of 5. right? Or 6, or however many are on that list. Okay. And then we want to go through and do it for the next stage. All right. So if it's nurturing the lead for 3 to 6 months out, okay, what are those action items? So in that case, I would click on the 0 out of 0 in theory, or if you have items, it would have this number. So we go down to this number 2, click on the hyperlink under the checklist. So 0 out of 0, let's say. And then we can go ahead and add in, so switching back to the Excel spreadsheet, this is when we can now grab one at a time, copy this, right? So getting the birthday from Facebook and adding them to the birthday smart plan, okay? Which means that they'll automatically receive a text from you, if you have Twilio, wishing them happy birthday, or it'll remind you to text them if you don't have Twilio. So I'm right-clicking to copy. I'm going to go back to the Command Opportunities tab and add the task. Again, generally, that's not something you'd want them to be notified of, so we're going to leave that off, including the client update. Now we're going to go back to the spreadsheet to copy it. We're going to add the next item is to add them to the neighborhood nurture. So we'll click the same process here. And please let me know if you have questions or don't feel clear on this back and forth, copying and pasting in. I'm going to give you a couple minutes if you want to work on this section, but then I'm going to kind of skip ahead to the under contract phase so I can show you more applicably, that's a word, when to use the client updates and how to fully turn that on. Man, it's coming down out there. While you're working on that, I'm just going to check on a question in the chat. So ignore what I'm doing on my screen for just a second here. Huh. That's so interesting. Yeah, you're right, Megan. There is no marketing tab on the team side. I didn't realize that. I'll double check if there's, because I think your permissions are set up correctly. I think mine are as well. But yeah, that might not be on the team side, Megan. I will double check and confirm with you. Oh, it's not on yours like individually either? What? Okay, let's see here. Wow. That's a strange one that you're not seeing it on your individual pipeline either, Megan. Like if you click on, thanks for confirming. That is super weird. Okay, I'm gonna have to check into that. I haven't seen that per se. I'll shoot you an email after class. Yeah, but if you don't mind also, if I don't email you shortly after, just emailing me for this email just so I remember to troubleshoot that for you. That's interesting. Thanks for letting me know. All right. All right, so if you're still working on adding that checklist in, finish up the one that you're doing, and you can always come back to this, of course. But go ahead and click save on the bottom, because I'm going to show you when you would use the client updates more, when you go active or under contract. So if you can go ahead and click save on the bottom. All right, I'm going to go back to the listing. So if you would like to follow along, I'm going to click on this link on the top left again, back to listings to get back to my pipeline. There we go. So that was that like little blue link on the top left that said back to listings that I clicked on. Okay. Now, any new transactions that you create or any new opportunities will automatically have the updated checklist on it. However, if you have an existing opportunity in the phase, like if you just added in, let's say, 7 items, right? But you have an existing opportunity. I have not seen that it updates on existing opportunities like that checklist. However, any new opportunities that you create will automatically have that new number on it, like the new checklist on it. Okay, so what I do in order to see the updates of that checklist is we want to move it down the pipeline. Okay, so you'll notice when you put your mouse on the left-hand side of the opportunity card here, it turns your mouse into a hand. So then I can click and hold, right? You'll see over these like dots in a rectangle, click and hold, and you'll see that you can now drag it to the next stage, okay? So let's say after it's been 6 months, so now we want to go ahead and move them to nurturing the lead. You'll see that when I bring it from this stage to this one, it updated my checklist number automatically to be the checklist items that we just worked on in that phase. So as far as moving it down, and this is, honestly, so cool that it does this, it will update your checklist for you for each stage as you bring it down your pipeline. You have a brand new checklist in there now for what you should be doing right when they're ready to sell to get them to appointment. So same concept here. I'm going to have you pull that opportunity. So again, we click on the left-hand side where the dots in a rectangle are. Click and hold. And now to put them in, let's say, the active phase. I know we're going to skip ahead a little just so I can show you the application of client updates. If you hover, so I'm clicking and holding, and I'm going to drag it up to one of these up here. Now you'll notice it'll drop it wherever it's turning blue, right? So you see the dotted lines. I can see it's blue over active. So if I let go here, it now added that transaction to the active phase. Sorry, I have stuffy nose. So active phase. So if you want to click on that, the active phase at the top now, you should see your transaction that you've been working on for today's class, like the practice. Okay. So I'm going to show you, the next steps are going to look similar, but we need to talk about the client updates, actually turning them on, because I've only told you half of that so far. Okay. But for example, right, what we did so far is we went up to stages and checklists. So make sure you click on active and click on stages and checklists on the top right. And this is the same concept, right? You can edit this, which I know I've edited some of these names. But if, one of these names doesn't make a lot of sense to you when you are active, right? You can update these stage names by clicking the pencil icon on the far right. But more specifically, we want to click on the checklist. So if it says 0 out of 0, okay, they're line. It is opportunity checklist, so I get excited. I know. Okay, so from this section here, same concept, right? Where we're switching back and forth between that Excel spreadsheet. I'm just going to have you add a couple. You can just look on my screen and click add task if you want to put in some of what you see on my screen. But in general, I'd love for you guys to click on the tab that's an Excel spreadsheet. And so now, right, on the left-hand side, right, we've been working on the top section because that was phase 1, cultivate, right? But if you scroll down to the active phase, right here, right, this is where I can start copying and pasting those items in. Again, another agent shared this with me. So these are the steps they do in their transaction. And I had a couple other agents look over it to make sure this is factual. But of course, just make sure you feel free to change it to adapt to your business instead. So, but concept is I'm just right clicking to copy and paste it in each time. Okay. So let's say this is one that I do want my client to be notified of by default. So I could go ahead and turn on this little task, right? Or this little include in client update and click create. Okay, that still doesn't mean that they're gonna get it unless you turn this feature on totally, okay? So even if you have certain items, so I'll click create, you'll see that I do have a good amount of items checked here for client update. And when I do check it here, it adds this little envelope icon to the left of it, okay? Now, so what that's saying is each time I turn client updates on, it will automatically make those send to your clients when you complete those items. So I'll show you this in a live environment here. If you click on save, if you click on save on the bottom, I'm going to show you now how to turn on this client update feature, which would have to be turned on for each transaction individually, which I love because that means that my clients aren't going to receive accidental emails from me unless I turn them on. Okay, so let me show you that. So if you're working on completing your last task or putting one in, just make sure you click save on the bottom. And then we're going to click back to listing. So this is how we get back to our pipeline, that little blue link above where it says edit active stages. We'll go back to listings, active. Okay, and you'll see that I have client updates turned on for my other transactions, but if I scroll down, right, they're all turned off. So what I would do in order to turn on a client update for each individual opportunity, you would click on the opportunity to open it. Okay, so this would be done from within the opportunity. If you click on it to open it, you see where it says client updates on the top right? We click on that. Okay, so again, this has to be done for each transaction separately, right? So they'll never accidentally get emails from you on this. We would open the opportunity. We want that client, so whichever client we want to start receiving them, we open that opportunity and we clicked on client updates on the top right. Now we can turn this on so that you can send daily progress emails. So what happens is each day it'll send them an update. So for example, let's say you complete 3 items that you have set up as client updates, like putting the sign in the yard, upload the pictures to the MLS, got the square footage, whatever it is, right? They will receive one email with all 3 of those items that you completed because they'll send one each day. So it tracks every 24 hours, what have you completed, and it sends them out, well, whenever you want it to. So you'll see here, this is where you can adjust when it sends. Defaults to 11, I think. But if you want to change that, you absolutely can. If you are on a team, the next drop down would apply to you if you want that to send from the rainmaker or the owner of the opportunity is what it's saying. That's really only if you're on a team that you would pay attention to that field. In general, you would just want to say owner. Okay, and then it's showing you under there who it's sending to, right? So you could add contacts, right? So if you wanted, if it's a young couple and you want their parents to also receive what you've been doing, right? You can manually add contacts, but by default, it'll just send to whoever is in the opportunity. Now, if you want to see what that looks like, you can click on preview right here. So I just clicked on preview on the bottom. So that is, let me show you that again. So under all the contacts, you can preview what this email looks like. And this is what they would get, every morning at 11 a.m. or every morning that you've completed tasks for them. So if it is a listing, it will automatically pull in a listing photo right here. So again, if you're representing the listing, it does pull in the listing photo there, which makes it pretty pretty. Of course, it would say all your contact information at the top automatically. That pulls from the command marketing profile. You'll see that it gives them the checklist items that you completed that day. And this would be your headshot. Right, so it's a pretty simple email, but it just keeps them up to date on what you're doing in the transaction for them. Okay, so you can X out of that. And if you click Save Changes on the bottom, it will turn this feature on for this transaction specifically. So now where it says Client Updates On, it will automatically send them client updates only for the tasks that you have that turned on for. Okay, so if I have that turned off, it's still not going to notify them when I check these off, only items that I have this turned on for. Please let me know if that's not clear in any way. I'm happy to explain this to you. I'm also happy to do this with you in person. These opportunity checklists are a game changer for your organization and letting your clients know and automating your communication with your clients. All right. So again, in practice, is the final thing I'll show you here is now if I go back to my pipeline, right, you can check off items either from this on the top right, or I'm just going to show you two that you can check them off from your pipeline itself. So where it says task 0 to 7, you could go ahead and check things off from here, or back on your pipeline. So I'm just going to click on that blue link again on the top left, sales pipeline, listings. Just a heads up now, I could also select any of these checklists. And again, if you have an existing opportunity in this phase and then you update the checklist, it won't always show the checklist for that one. It would show it for new opportunities or transactions created. So for example, if I click on, see it now says client updates on, and I have the checklist right here that I can click on to check that off. I think it's over here, yeah. So this always gets me, so just a heads up. See how it says check, like the check boxes here? If you, that's just to select them, but if you want to complete it, that's the actual checkbox. Now, last thing to know on this is if you check tasks, let's say in command. So your command app will let you know of any tasks that you have due for that day, okay? These opportunity tasks will only show up like as far as all of your tasks, like notify you from the command app if you set a due date, okay? So in general, it's not going to notify you of these tasks unless you add a due date to it, okay? But in general, of course, you can always go to the opportunity to see your checklist and what you need to do. But if you want it to send you a notification reminding you to do this tomorrow, right, you can click Add Due Date and put in the date of tomorrow, and then it will pop up on your command app tomorrow in the task section of command, under the bell icon of command. So you can simply go ahead and select when you want it to notify you and click Apply. Okay, now I know that was a lot. Let me know what questions you have, like sincerely, yell out online. I do want to let you know as well, right? We have open tech hours now, Tuesday through Friday, 12 to 12:30. So if you come sit in the hub, right? It's in the hub, 12 to 12:30, Tuesday through Friday. We can just do this together, right? Come sit in the hub. I walk around every day and I'll just help you put this checklist in. Yeah, it might take you a couple days for that, or if you just sit down and watch TV and put these in, right? I know it's a little cumbersome, but you can see, I imagine, how much of a game changer this could be for your organization and your communication process with your clients. What questions can I answer on that? Now, if you would like to, I know I taught this at the beginning of the Tuesday DocuSign class, but the final thing I'm going to show you in today's class, and I'll let you go in less than 10 minutes here, is how you can create templates in DocuSign. So again, what that does is, let's say on a listing agreement, I, mostly put in this information, right? I have to write NA on like 15 fields, right? Whatever that is that you're putting in consistently on all listing agreements, wouldn't it be nice if you could pull it in just already half filled out, or to whatever degree that you can pre-fill it in? So if you were here on Tuesday and you feel like you got that, great, you can leave. I am going to show you that it's just a few steps on how you can create templates of all of your forms. And now just a heads up, if you did this before, like with the old forms, you would have to create new templates with the new forms. So I'm going to show you that. I'm going to go ahead and click Done on what I'm looking at here. If you have questions on it, please let me know. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into DocuSign. Okay. So you can get into DocuSign in a few ways, right? You can click on the opportunity itself to open it. And then to get into DocuSign itself, we click on the Documents tab. Okay, so if I lost you at all, I click on an opportunity to open it. And to get into DocuSign, I'm going to click on the Documents tab of my opportunity and click Go to Transaction. Of course, you can go directly to DocuSign by going to rooms.docusign.com. Okay, the important thing you know about that is you never go to DocuSign directly to start a transaction for the first time. Probably heard me say that. Right? Anytime you're starting a transaction for the first time, that's when we go into command, right? We start it in command. However, if you just need to access DocuSign to grab a form or to check on something, right, you can go directly to rooms.docusign.com. Okay. So again, rooms.docusign.com will be the quickest way to just get to all your transactions in DocuSign, but we never start a transaction in DocuSign. Okay. We always start that in command. This is on the notes too. That's what I went over on Tuesday, but I'll show you where the notes are on the workflow if you need a refresher. Okay, but what I'd like you to do, you can go directly to rooms.docusign.com and click on My Documents on the top toolbar. My Documents. Okay. Now, to create a new template, again, to pre-fill out a listing agreement, a buyer agency, whatever form it is, we would do that under My Documents. If you scroll down, you'll see it says New Template on the right-hand side. And again, this would have to be redone like each time they update forms, right? So if you had this created before on the old forms, you would have to recreate that on the new listing agreement. So I'll click on New Template. Okay, New Template on the right-hand side. And again, I'm in DocuSign, right? Rooms.docusign.com. I clicked on My Documents on the top white toolbar, and then New Template is what I've done so far. Now from there, I have two drop downs. It doesn't really matter. It's going to show you all the forms either way. So if you leave the first drop down on the library, you're just going to see all North and South Carolina forms essentially grouped together. I personally like to change the first drop down to DocuSign Form Packet. So if you want to follow my preference, I click the first drop down and select the first option, DocuSign Form Packet. So then in the second drop down, it groups the forms based on how Sabra groups them for us. So I can go ahead and let's say the North Carolina listing file or whichever, form you'd like to do this on. It's the same concept. So you can pick any of them. I'm going to show you on a listing agreement. So I selected the North Carolina listing file. And then I'll select the very top one, the 101 exclusive right to sell. And I can click Use. Once the form loads, the practice is going through and filling out any fields that, for the most part, are the same on every listing agreement. Okay, once you pull this into a room, actually, it allows you to change it. So, if it doesn't apply, it'll allow you to change it. But let's say, like, I want to add Keller Williams Realty at the top. As I scroll down, you can go ahead and select, again, any radio dots that you typically would select. The what that you put in here is a little less my knowledge range. I can tell you the how, of course, right? But the idea is you're going through and filling in any fields that are in general the same. Like, okay, like personal property conveying, if that's an NA, right? If you generally put that in. Of course, when you bring it into the transaction, and if personal property is conveying, you could change that. All right. So again, as far as the how, we're going through each and every page and trying to fill in things that, for the most part, apply to all of your transactions. Now, if you're not sure which one of those fields that would apply to, your T group partner would be a great resource. Even asking to see their listing agreement, what they regularly put in. So then you can go ahead and enter in a lot of that information. You can edit the name of it on the top here. So let's say this pencil icon on the very top, if I want to change that to, listing agreement. You can set up several form templates for the same form. So if I wanted to have, let's say an example, a listing agreement template set up for cash deals and a listing agreement set up for finance deals. Just an example. I'll show you how you can easily copy the template. So let's say I put this in finance. Once I rename it, I can click the green check mark on the far right. Okay, and that saves the name. And then I can click Save and Close on the very top. Okay, I just need to show you two more things before I let you go. That's how to copy this and also apply it in your actual DocuSign room. So that's really important if you can stay around for just 2 more minutes here. So I'll click Save and Close on the top. Okay. So first thing I want to show you, if you wanted to, let's say, copy that and make it into, the exact copy, but I want this to be for cash deals, right? So you'll see on the far right where it has this drop down here. Wow, wait, interesting. They took out copy. Oh, I see. Hang on. So I'm going to change it to just see my templates. So you can do that. So I'm just going to show you how you can make a copy of it so that if you want to straight up copy everything that you did, all your work, but just change a few items on it, you could have a separate template, let's say, for cash deals. Let's see if it'll load for me. If it's loading for you, just in general, right, you want to find that template that you just created, and there's a little drop-down menu on the far right that gives you the option to copy it. So if you wanted a listing agreement, let's say for cash transactions, it would copy everything you already did, all your work. You can make a few minor changes, and now you have a separate listing agreement for each of those situations. Okay, since we ran out of time and it's loading forever, let me know if you need more steps on that, but I'm going to show you how to apply this template because that is the most important thing at this point. Okay, last thing. So I'm going to go back to my rooms, okay? So how you would apply a template that you just created, you can click on Rooms on the very top white toolbar. And go ahead if you have an opportunity or a transaction in here that would apply, let's say, to the listing, if you just create a listing agreement at least. I'm going to open up the room, let's say, that is for a listing. And how we apply that template is now, okay, I made a template for the exclusive right to sell. So here it is. I can right-click on it, and you'll now see the option to apply form template. So you only see that option for forms you've created a template for. Like I have not, for example, made a template for the residential property disclosure, so I don't have that option at all. Right? But when I right click on the exclusive right to sell and click apply form template, okay, I always show this in class, that's why I have so many, but the max you would maybe have is a couple. And this is where I was talking about if you had one for finance deals and one for cash deals, you would see both of those listing agreement templates in here, and you could select which one would apply to this transaction. I simply click on it, click apply. It reloads, and now if you click on that form, it's going to have all that pre-filled information in it. I'm just going to show you how it pre-filled. So now it adds all my clients' information, but it also pre-fills anything that I did, right? So it'll pre-fill all that information in. So it saves you time. Now, I think that's like my old forms. But anyway, if you have questions on how to do any of that, right, or those opportunity checklists, if you want to come in for open tech hours, or again, how you can book free appointments with us once a week, right? The Market Center pays for you guys to be able to meet with us for free, right? If you need to meet with us, that's not how you spell that, kwbresources.com. I need tech help on the top right is our Calendly link. You can book up to once a week and we'll help you with any of this in person, or our open tech hours, of course, are from 12 to 12:30, Tuesday through Friday. I hope that helped. Please shoot me an email if you have any questions. Megan, I'll get back to you on that marketing tab. That's a weird one. And I will let you know more info on that. Any other questions, feel free to shout them out or put them in the chat and I'll stick around for a little. Thank you guys.